Good morning, John. Paper. We think of this as a very normal and cheap thing. And look at this paper. It does not seem like it came out of a tree, right? It's bright. It is smoother and more uniform than anything a medieval monk ever touched. If a scribe from the past saw how high quality this was and also how callously we treat it, they would be furious. At this point, we don't even think of paper as a technology, but paper is the result of thousands of years of experimentation in how humans store thoughts outside of our brains. And books kind of rely on paper, not really in total. Like in China, back thousands of years ago, they would split bamboo into thin strips and then bind them together in a kind of book-like thing. And there's also papyrus, which is different from paper, but not different enough for me to care about. We also did scrolls, which it is very, very weird that we refer to one of the primary activities of the smartphone age as scrolling. We took the scroll and backlit it, and we were like, actually, yeah, I do like this. This is good. Like the biggest scroll, I think I looked this up, is like 24 feet long. In terms of like ancient scrolls. Mine's longer than that. Bring back scrolls, by the way. I don't know why not. Let's try it. Weird thing about humans, we have a bunch of ways of sharing information, and when we make a new one, we tend to just keep it forever. Like, we've still got radio shows, though we might have podcasts now. We've still got newspapers, though they might be a little less physical. You can still go and watch a play. You can still sit around a fire and tell stories to your friends. But not every medium remains. Like, we don't make scrolls anymore, and we probably do in some way, but not really. Like, we have CVS receipts. But we do very much still have the thing where we put words on paper so that the ideas can get from one human into another human. My point here is, at some point in the past, people were like, what if we had a bunch of people pretend like they were other people and tell a story like that? And we still do that. And then at some other point in history, somebody was like, let's absolutely pulverize a bunch of plants and then mark them with a bunch of symbols that tell a story that other people can read. And we still do that. And I think that's going to continue to be a thing forever, like for as long as humans. But also, I don't think it's going to be like exactly the same thing. I'm not sure how I would make a book different, but I know a lot of people are doing it. And I'm not talking about the physical form. I'm talking about the functionality of the thing in the pages. I actually don't know that like innovation in the book space, like you could do stuff and that's good. But the functionality has changed a lot over the years. Like people might not like what I'm about to say, but like go read a book from 100 years ago and see books have changed a lot because our minds have already changed in that time. It's harder to read a book from back then, not just because the language is different, not just because they're almost all racist, but also because like our minds are conditioned in a different world. And those books are not made for this one. I don't know. Pride and Prejudice is still very good. Still top tier novel. I think given the way that our attentions are functioning now, we might see functional innovation of books. So Project Hail Mary, I think, is a good example of a book that is made for a more modern mind. And a more modern world with a focus on how the book will feel in audio. Not just in like the performance of it, but like in the structure of it. With really linear short chapters, very few overlapping scenes. And again, you're not gonna like this, but like chapters have shortened a lot over the last few decades. I think that there are gonna continue to be more mini cliffhangers. Nonfiction will be self-contained within like chapters that can be read or listened to in 5 to 10 minutes. But what does a book look like when it's made with like an awareness, not just of audio, but of video? And like, I know that I don't need to be having ideas right now, but I'm working on a book. And like, I see some chapters as scripts that I will almost definitely adapt for YouTube. Umberto Eco said that the book is like the spoon, the hammer, the wheel, or the scissors. Once invented, it cannot be improved. And look, that guy was smarter than me, but he was wrong about that. The wheel, for example, is just a fantastic example of an invention that has continued to be improved basically every year since its invention. Here's the thing. There was a pretty big period of time when books were often published as serials before being bound into a single volume. So you like subscribe to a kind of magazine thing and it would contain pieces of various stories, and then you'd keep getting them, and there'd always be like a more completion of the story. I feel like this is something that could easily come back, and probably is in some ways already. John, I hate to point this out, but it's actually something you're doing right now with your secret Patreon that, sorry everybody, I think is not currently accepting new members. But that's super interesting to me, and it's very sparkly to think about how that could actually interface with print, because there is something nice about print. But with how fast everything can move now, there's the opportunity to respond to feedback in future chapters the way we respond to feedback from video to video. After my first book came out and it went pretty well, I went to my publisher and I was like, I have this idea. Here's what we're going to do. I shouldn't even tell you this. Here's what we're going to do. My next book is going to come out serialized, and you can only get them if you go to bookstores. So you have to drive to a bookstore, and it's going to come out every month. And there's going to be bits where you have to go to a physical place. And what I want is to create an event around it. I want people to show up for the thing. And there were all these reasons that I was told why we couldn't do it, why it was a bad idea. This group of people were going to get mad. There's all these stakeholders, but I know there's a way we could have worked around that. And if I had the real clout, like maybe some people I know, I bet I could have made them do it, but maybe not. I don't know. I want things to get weird. I think there's a chance that if the publishing industry is suffering, it may need to break out of the boxes it has created for simplicity and efficiency and to match with tradition. And that last thing might actually be the hardest thing to overcome, because books still hold a rarefied space, and changing them too much might challenge or diminish that. And that is one of the biggest things books still have going for them. But yeah, I don't think books are going anywhere. I think that books will outlive every social media platform, but I also think that the way books work today is not how they have always functionally worked, and it is not how they will always work. John, I'll see you on Tuesday. A couple extra things at the end of the video. 1, Nerdfighter art for the projects are awesome. Still a thing, link in the description. 2, Focus Friend now has a count up timer and a second room, and we're working on a third room. 3, for those of you who live in the UK, I'm gonna be on QI on Tuesday. Actual QI with Sandy and Alan, and Desiree Birch and Aisling B, and me. But I'm terrified. I don't even know how I'm gonna watch it. I might have to have somebody send it to me. And last, the nominees for Comedy Wildlife Photos of the Year are out, and I'll link to that in the description as well. I, personally, would like the duck to win.